What's up? Wilson, I sent you an invite. Let's see if it works. Sometimes it's a little temperamental. All right, you sent me a request. Boom. Come on. You can do it. Gosh, this thing's so. Uh, Go live. Unable to join. Damn. Well, come on. There it is.
Hey, there we go.
That's the one.
Sure.
Dude, you sound so good. You sound,
Thank you. I don't look as good as you, though.
I don't know. I guess it depends. My face doesn't look too good, but you know, I guess that part doesn't much matter right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, it still looks like you still got some
Just
of
a
that tan on you
little,
from
there's just a little
Chicago.
bit there. It's mostly off, but that stuff's nasty, dude. It's just like it's like patchy and in your pores. Not good. We'll give it a minute here. Let some people kind of jump in. How are you doing?
For sure. But yeah, that sounds good. Doing good, man. Honestly, been learning, watching a couple tutorials, learning some new stuff, and then just I got a bunch of family coming in tonight and
Perfect.
tomorrow, so getting ready
Yes,
for
sir.
Thanksgiving. So I'm excited about that. But how about you? Looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, one of the biggest food years of and you can't. I mean, I'm wondering what's your
Oh
diet
yeah.
looking
Well,
like with
there will be
with all that.
no festivities
Like,
this year. None.
ah,
Zero. Zero.
I got you.
It's all good.
Well, hey, it makes
Nah,
sense
dude.
though.
It's all good. It's no big deal. I got Christmas, right? I'll be fine. I'm hoping
Yeah.
everyone that I
Hey,
compete
exactly.
against eats, though.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
100%.
hopefully,
That'd be
Grandma like bakes them
perfect.
a bunch of cookies. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's funny.
Stuck behind stage.
Cool. So we'll just go ahead and I'm just people will jump in as we're going, but we'll go ahead and kick it off.
For
So
sure.
thanks for joining, guys. This one's going to be a little bit different. I know we generally get on and we're talking physique enhancement. We're gonna flip the script a little bit tonight. So Wilson has unexpectedly entered the MySpace through a mutual friend, and we connected to do some media. So photography, video editing, things of that nature. And I have truthfully fallen in love with this guy's work. I think he's an awesome guy. I think he does really good work. I think that his intentions and passions and things are so extremely aligned with mine, and our characters are aligned really well. So I'm super happy to have him on part of the team. But I won't get too sappy on you there. Anywho, so before we dive into discussion, kind of tell people your backstory because it's a lot like mine in that I think you went into something you were passionate about with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people around you not like really understanding what you wanted to do and what you wanted to accomplish because you were going to go to school for something else and et cetera, and now you're here. So give us some background.
Absolutely. Well, Austin, thank you for having me on. I appreciate that. Definitely doing something new that I haven't done, but I'm excited. But yeah, so I started originally was going to school to play lacrosse and to pursue a double major in business management and marketing. And my first year in college, the lacrosse route didn't work as I planned, but I still was going to school there. And while I was going to school there, I actually had two buddies here in the Columbus area who were doing work with the camera and doing some phenomenal work. And something that really caught my eye. And I've always been an artist growing up. Not just wasn't sure exactly what it was I wanted to pursue. And seeing their work, it just kind of just I felt like it was almost like reaching out to me, like an energy connection that, this is something that I could see myself doing. And so after, started talking to them and just kind of hearing how they started, getting any recommendations, picked up my first camera and decided to go back to Baldwin Wallace and film the lacrosse team, something that I knew, a sport I loved and grew up playing my entire life. And so the guys were all about it. And next thing you know, I just started filming workouts, games, and we'd be posting on the social media. And then the school started realizing it. I would say, a bunch of people around school were starting to realize it too. And it was just really cool. It was like the fact that I was, self-teaching myself off YouTube and going with just this idea in my head of this person I could be. Things just started unfolding very quickly. And next thing you know, I just continued. I was a full-time videographer, did some work for the school, kept doing work for the team. And then about after my sophomore year, I was having a little financial struggle. So I decided to I ended up moving back home. And then I was working another job and then also doing video stuff during the week. And then I was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I was like, I'm going to work my ass off during the week, try to learn as much stuff as I can. And then, work on the weekends. And I was going back and forth between that. And then soon before you know it, after a couple of years of just putting myself around good people and learning and just educating myself from other creators and other people who are entrepreneurs as well, I'd say about a year and a half after moving back home, I'm doing this full time now. And it's been incredible. Just being able to work and network with as many just similar minded people like you. It's been just tremendous. And, there's that quote that says, it's not what you know, but who you know. And obviously, what you know is important. Don't get me wrong, but connections are a huge thing. And that's allowed me to get to where I'm at today. And also along with the idea and belief in myself of who I wanted to be. So
Yeah, dude, I think
hopefully that kind of, captures everything a little bit and like in one jar. Usually when people ask me that, I go like so in depth that I'm like,
yeah.
kind of get lost, but I think that was pretty good summary of how I got to where we are today.
Perfect.
So, but yeah, it's been an incredible journey. So
let's fast forward and we'll talk some more specifics. So what kind of, well, I know that your demographics now varies a lot. So you started with lacrosse, obviously. You obviously do have dabbled in other things, like athletics seem to be in some way, shape, or form seem to be like something that you really enjoy. Obviously, like if you want to consider bodybuilding athletics, I guess it's
Absolutely.
right. But talk about who are some of your clientele, for one.
absolutely. So some of I've done a lot of work for a couple NFL players. So my guy Benny Snell Jr. He's actually one of the guys that first started off running back for the Steelers. He was actually one of my boys from back home. We played ball together, and he was one of the guys when I first moved back here. I was like, I'd go out and make free videos and I'd send it to him. I'm like, oh, we need to get CEO Snell something like this. And after a while, he started recognizing. He's, oh my God, my boy, he's doing this and brought me on. But I do a lot of work with him. I've done some work with Deontay Johnson, also with the Steelers, a couple other professional athletes as well, and the too. And definitely dabbled into, I'd say this year, I've dabbled a lot more into the drone industry as well. I've done a lot of stuff like you were there when we met on the tracks with the FPV drone. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to and adding into my arsenal as I go forward. But I've definitely worked with like a lot of worked with a lot of bar, not bars, a couple bars, but so a lot of companies, just brands, you name it. I've done like a couple weddings, so not something that I want to add, like continue going forward. But you know, the way I look at it is I'm in the weeds right now, and the more I can be just versatile and with whether it be athletes, you know, shooting with brands, businesses, weddings, whatever it may be, the more knowledge I'm going to get off of it, the more it's going to help me down the road in figuring out what it is that
Yeah,
I want to do.
that's awesome.
So,
And something that something that I've always done myself, and something that I really try to instill in the coaches that I mentor, is that variety is your friend. And variety is your friend for a few reasons, because variety just continues to expose you to more situations. So like, even though you think that maybe a wedding doesn't really have any overlap with an NFL player, you're going to learn something that's applicable between each of them by working with those populations. So like, for me, it's like a Gen Pop client that wants to, a typical Gen Pop client that wants to lose weight versus an IFBB pro bodybuilder. Like, on paper, those things seem a lot different, but I definitely learn things from each one of them that I can apply to the other, whether it be psychologically, physically, or somewhere in between. So I think that a lot of people obviously develop a niche within their community as they grow and develop more, but early on, variety is key, like, if you want to learn. So
absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
100%.
it's crucial. So I think that that's a great takeaway message. Expose yourself to as much as you can, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, hell, I mean, like, if you look at the way we met, you know, I remember, what is it? Because I just picked up the FPV drone side early this year, and I was doing work for some, just kind of, you know, messing around, getting used to the controls, and also filming people. And then look out, like, we just ended up running into each other at the tracks. And, you know, it was interesting because I've worked with a couple boxers, you know, but being able to work with, you know, a bodybuilder and a fitness coach, you know, I haven't done that yet. So but it's like you said, though, there's a lot of stuff that you can just be able to pull from, you know, whether it's shooting with a professional athlete, that I find myself doing using similar shots with, let's say, like in a wedding. I did a wedding not too long ago, and I was using very similar like style shots. So like it's good because you learn a lot more, and it just better
Absolutely.
at the end of the day.
So one of the things that, among many things, one thing I've been super impressed about, and I find this with people that have this artistic ability, is you catch on really quick. So if anyone that's seen any of the reels that I posted, a lot of them, not like the educational reels, but a lot of the like compilation type reels and behind the scenes and stuff like that, those are from Wilson, by the way, so FYI. And like the recent ones, you know, there were some earlier in prep and stuff, like training, instructional, things like that. And then there were some recently, the two-parter that we did like pre-show, and then we did the follow-up part that was, you know, kind of encompassing the show and the summary. When you sent me that second one, and there were so many, and those who haven't watched it, it's awesome. It gave me chills. Jerica loved it too. So one of the things that I noticed was there were a lot of nuggets in there that, keep in mind, like, Wilson's never been to a bodybuilding show, so ever. And one of the things that caught me right away was, I think we were maybe coming into the venue, into the theater, or it was maybe just prior to that. And in the background, you heard 21 and 27 switch. Okay. So this was obviously like me. I think I was 27, might have been, right? My number, I can't remember. Yeah. You know, obviously they had called me out, and they moved me into the center in the call out. And you've never been to a bodybuilding show, but like, you inserted 21 and 27 switch as backdrop, like voiceover audio. And I was like, how did that happen? Like, so the ability to, you know, catch on and insert those nuggets, I was like, wow, I was super impressed. And that's why, you know, I really enjoy the content. But let's talk about some things, like let's go social media a little bit. So let's talk about, and you've talked to me a
Absolutely.
little bit about this, and I will be the first to say that I've been around a long time in the industry. At least I consider it a long time, because we were talking like I was like a year. I started like a year prior to Instagram launching. So as far as like coaching goes, and obviously the
Yeah.
landscape has changed a lot. So we have the inclusion of reels, and I think just in general, different content is obviously going to appeal to different people, but different like types of content would probably be better suited for, short videos versus long videos versus photos, et cetera, et cetera. So we've talked a little bit about like the reel scene, for example, like the short reel scene.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking in that realm, are there any tips that you would give people, that you think, as far as like visibility and things that catch people's eyes? Because I think attention spans are short a lot of the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would say, something that I've been learning that, I'm still working on getting better at. And, talking like one of my two buddies who I mentioned earlier, Aiden, one of them's Aiden Minton and Bradley Ennis. They're both phenomenal videographers. But this is like one thing that we've kind of all talked about. And it's interesting because the algorithm of Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be, is always constantly changing. And, you see reels, and reels are anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds, even less. And you look at a video that may be a minute, and what's getting the more views at 15 to 30 seconds, because a lot of like the attention spans nowadays, they're very small. So something that's going to like attract the viewer's eye or be able to relate to them within 15, 30 seconds is more impactful than sometimes a minute video that takes a full 60 seconds to get into that part. But one thing I would definitely recommend is just staying in tune with what's going on in the social media world. And like I said, that's one like thing I'm working on getting better at, because the algorithm's always changing. There's always new new sounds and new ways that people are creating art. And I think I definitely could see it could be very frustrating, because you have artists out there who, let's say, their thing might be making longer videos with a lot more like in-depth detail, work, all that. And a lot of these videos nowadays, they're just short, simple, and to the point, and that's what's getting the most recognition. But I would just say staying in tune with what's going on in social media and just the way the algorithm's changing, I would say would have to be my biggest recommendation. Um, Besides that, though, it's just, also putting out there and being organic, being who you are and what you want to create, and also kind of blending that in with the algorithm. I think that's the biggest thing, because I feel like in today's world, it's very easy to get down on yourself with, seeing people who are creating these short, like Instagram reels, blah, 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 all that. And, they're getting multiple thousands. They're getting a lot of reach, a lot of views. And as an artist, I can see that being very like, I've seen a couple artists, and I've like, even myself too, I found myself finding myself falling in that guilt trap of like, wow, like that person's like doing something so simple, blah, 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 all that. And it's really just about, not getting caught up in, what other people are doing, but seeing what they're doing, but also, picking the good pointers away of like, okay, like this person's keeping it short and simple. This person's, getting right to the point. How can I do that but add my own twist onto it? And, kind of just go from there. So I would say just staying organic and, being able to be a sponge and be able to adapt to new technology and how it's coming. So
No,
hopefully,
no,
I know it rambled on there a little bit,
there's
but
there's another takeaway in there that you kind of alluded to already. When we're talking about being organic, is you also need to know, and I'll talk about this from personal experience. You need to know your audience. Okay, so an example of that would be,
yes. Mhm.
I will put out longer, more in-depth educational content sometimes, right? And other times, I have the shorter stuff. Now, let's say hypothetically that I put out a 3-minute video talking about like breaking down something scientific, right? Now, maybe it's longer, so less people are going to watch it, so on and so forth. But what I find is that I know my audience. So even if that video gets 500 views, but the reel from Will Wilson gets, 5,000 views or whatever, what's happening is of those 500, my actual ROI is very, very high because I know that the people that are watching that are the people that are genuinely interested in what I'm doing and what I have to say. And so the ROI is like, because who am I appealing to? I'm appealing to people, like educational clients, like people that want to know the nitty gritty, that are paying me for these like high end information and applicable information and my knowledge and my experience and so on and so forth. So I think that variety is also really good. Like one thing that I've noticed is that the reels, like the shorter stuff, it helps boost you in the algorithm. That way that other content definitely becomes more visible. And so, so
Absolutely.
in turn, I think that you really need to know your audience. Like for coaching, for example, it's difficult to use, or mentorship or whatever. It's difficult to use a quantity model when you only have so much time. Like I can only work with so many people, right? And however, I want to make sure that I'm appealing to the right people. So what I always tell people is you're going to attract what you put out, right? So when we're talking about
Exactly.
like the barn gym videos and stuff that we do, like the hardcore ambiance and stuff like that, it's that's not going to attract the girl that's going to the gym and doing the booty bands, and this and that. Like, I work with a lot of female clients that need big glutes for their division, right? But I also understand that I want to put out what I want to attract. So one thing is you don't, and you said this, you want to pay attention to what other people do, but you don't want to necessarily just replicate them for the sake of replicating them, because then what you fall into
Exactly.
is, yeah, you get like it from coaching, right? Yeah, you get inquiries, but they're all garbage. You know what I mean? Like you're getting a lot of inquiries, but you're not getting any good
Exactly.
ones. Or you're not, or you're just not getting the types of inquiries that you want. So you definitely have to understand like both sides of
Good way
it.
of putting it.
Like a difference would be like if I'm selling a product, quantity model. Because like if I'm selling t-shirts, I want as many people to see my t-shirt as humanly possible because I want to sell as many t-shirts as I can, you know? So there's definitely
Hmm.
like a lot of merit in doing a little bit of both and understanding like who are you trying to appeal to. So I get that with a lot of my younger mentorship clients, that it's like, and again, like, hey, I'm not picking on anyone, so just FYI, it's like a younger female, right? She has a good reach, and she gets a lot of views and a lot of inquiries, but she's like, all of these inquiries are terrible, right? I'm like, because you're not appealing to who you really want to work with, right? So, you definitely have to do both is kind of the the takeaway.
Absolutely.
So with that being said,
And it's
yeah,
interesting, Austin, real quick to interrupt you, but it's interesting too because when we first started working with you and I checked out, you didn't really have flashy content like that you see a lot of days on like TikTok and Instagram, and it's interesting like watching your profile kind of grow too. I mean, I know like you've already, before we even worked, you were at, I believe, like 25,000 followers, and I was kind of looking at your views and stuff. But it's interesting now just seeing how you post a lot of like coaching and direct and like giving people information with like great information, and then also throwing in kind of like the hype videos that we've been doing as well, and so it's interesting, I guess, like how much have you seen like a change in your algorithm with that?
yeah, that's a great question. So I would say that it's definitely only helped. It's
Sorry
definitely
to hear
only
that.
helped me. There's no doubt about it. So the one thing that, like I said, is I think it's just increased my overall visibility to, so that way, I'm getting a lot of visibility on the stuff that I'm posting from you, the reels and things like that. And then that's also making me just even more visible for the people that I'm, the high ticket or whatever you want to call it, like people that I'm working with. right? So I think that there's only upside to it. But the thing that we've
Absolutely.
done is that even with that, I haven't strayed away from like my ethics and my foundational standard. It's not like I, it's important to understand like
Yes.
I'm not putting out clickbait bullshit just for the sake of like attracting people.
Y-
Like that's not what it is because when Wilson and I talk about what I want to do, it's still very much in line with who I am. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm not straying and
100%.
becoming someone else just for the sake of getting views. Like it's still me, you know? And that's the biggest thing. I think that
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that kind of that goes back to just kind of like with like what you said, like what we both talked about. It's, technology is advancing, but like you're organic and you're also applying that new technology to,
yeah,
your
absolutely.
foundation. So,
Um so when you got into this space uh and this so the I'm going to just do I'll throw some random ones at you. What Name like two
cool.
things that you have learned, or maybe expenses, or something that you've just come across that were like totally unexpected that threw you for a loop.
Hmm. That's a good question. It's a really good question. Do you mind
Yeah.
repeating that one more
So
time?
like when you came into the space and you started, learning from people, watching YouTube videos, picking up, understanding how to develop the content, name like one or two things that you came across that were like totally unexpected that you didn't think would be the case.
Hmm. Interesting. I would say, okay, like I would say one thing is, I don't know if it's like, I would say one of them, this is kind of, I'm going to kind of twist it a little bit by being relevant and putting out like, putting out more content is I mean, it's something I knew. I mean, it's an interesting question to answer, but this is one thing I'm going to say, and hopefully this kind of can come in a sense. But I would say kind of with what we just talked about, being relevant. And I was this guy who, when I first started off, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make videos, based on, when I want to, and like what if like, I have this vision in mind, I'm going to jot it down and I'm going to, make this video over a period of time. But nowadays it's like pump as much content out as you can. Boom, 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 boom. And in a way, it's like it's a challenge for me, and it's a challenge to anybody out there who's trying to promote a brand, trying to promote a product, you name it, of just being up to date with what's going on. So that's something like I definitely would say is like coming in, I was like a little like I knew about, but I didn't really pay like much attention to. But as I'm on social media more and as I am continuing forth, I would say just being more relevant, putting out as much content as you can, and just doing what feels right and what feels organic. Um, I would also say too, um, that's a tough one. I'm trying to think, like blanking on the moment. I'd say ask as many people or take in as much criticism, I mean, bad criticism, good criticism, um, as you can, because it's only going to help you at the end of the day. And I would say no matter what, whether good or bad, you just have to, like, it's always good hearing what people, um, I don't know, what people's opinions are about a video you put out or all that. And at the end of the day, though, I think it's something that it's good to be able to apply and not beat yourself up on. But just continuing forward and being the best version of yourself. I'm
That's
pretty,
hard. That's
I
a
don't know. I'm trying
that's
to,
a hard question.
that's a tough one, but that's a tough one. I'm trying to think, but, I would just say from my past, if I had like a screw up or anything like that, I would just look at it as okay, like this is a learning opportunity. There'd be like maybe in that moment, there'd be times where I'm like, oh, damn, like, why did I get the shot? Or why would I do that? Um, but I would just take everything and just kind of roll with it. If there was one thing I would always do too, though, is after any shoot, I will always go back, and no matter what, I don't care if it's family, friends, I will always go back and upload to my computer. Because there's one time though that I didn't do that, and I like let my camera stand, and I formatted my card, and I lost everything. So if there's one thing you can take after that, don't do that. And honestly, just just do you. Be like, be organic and just be excited to, see another day and be able to make something new and something
Yeah.
that's going to make you come alive. So hopefully that kind of answers everything. And so
Something that people ask me a lot now is they're like, because like a lot of the time the reality of the situation is like, I have very limited client space. I'm either full, I'm waitlisted, like I can take on like one person, two people. Like I just don't, they're like, why? Like you put out so much free stuff. Okay. And I think that people get too caught up in just trying to figure out how to monetize everything that they're doing and forget that. And I always say this, I'm like, what helps people helps business. And another quote that I really like is like, stop selling and start helping. And
yes.
I continue to put out free content all the time because, well, one, that's how I got here. I gave away, I remember at a seminar a long time ago, one of the guys, he was a really big name at the time. I don't even remember who it was. And he's like, do free shit. And I'm like, I don't have any money already. He's like, you need to do free shit. I'm like, why? Well, because for one, I didn't have any worth and no one knew who I was. So I didn't really, you know what I mean? And that really stuck with me. And I continue to do free shit all the time, constantly, because, of course free shit translates to business, but also the fact that if you continue to give back to your community and you provide good content, you better believe that people want to know what that paid content is. You know what I mean? They're like, man, this guy puts out XYZ and all this information and so on and so forth. Especially me now, because I've gotten so deep into the education space that if I'm just like guarding myself in like some obscure way, like, guess what? Like I got all this stuff, but you don't really know what it is, then, because you see that in a lot of business coaching now, where they'll like say something, but if you ask them like, well, what is it and how does it work? They don't really give you an answer, right? And I think that if you show people value through content, and of course, what I'm going to do is going to be different than you because our field is so much different. They're only going to that's only going to make them want to know, like, man, this guy's got a lot to offer, or this girl's got a lot to offer. I really want to work with them. If they're able to do this here, then what are they able to do behind the scenes, when they're working with me one-on-one, right? So I'm sure you notice it. Like a great example is YouTube. There's probably a lot of people that put out content on, video editing, content on media production that aren't very big right now, that probably aren't even, like, if they make anything on YouTube, they're probably making like 10 cents a video or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing. And they continue to do it because, of course, that's going to translate into providing value to people. And these people are like going to contact them directly. They're going to want to know, like, what can you teach me? I want you to teach me. So I think that's an important takeaway, is that you have to help people and you have to continue to help people. And I don't think there's anything wrong with just continuously putting out content, providing value. It's only going to translate to the bigger picture of your business at the end of the day. It does get tedious. Like, of course, you're going to run into people that are just trying to milk you for shit and don't like want to actually pay for anything later. And you'll have to, and it happens, and you got to weed some things out. But ultimately, like, you got to continue to just stay true and provide and provide and provide.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day too, it helps you grow because then I feel like after a while, I mean, and anything that helps you grow, it just it builds more to you and understanding. Okay, I'm giving out free content, which is great, and I'm building a portfolio, I'm building connections, which is huge. But I think it obviously comes after I think at a certain point, then it's like, hey, this is what I offer. I offer a premium quality piece of content here, and it does come with a price. But I do agree with you though in what you said because, when I find myself, when I do when I just help out, whether it be like in the community or giving back in any way I can, that I find that more greater things do come from that. And sometimes I believe it's just like that energy flow and energy connection, and it's just incredible. And that's why it's like sometimes it's the small things. You hear as you grow and grow big with business, don't forget the small things because the small things are what helps you build that
Yeah.
business or help build that building, to build that foundation. So, but yeah, I agree with that a lot. And back to when the question you asked me though, what were some big what would you say were some of the biggest things that you learned going just starting off or even still going through today?
So like I said, I came in at a time where I'm very fortunate. It took, so there's pros and cons. One, it took me a really long time to get to where I'm at, like a really long time compared to what you can do now. Like you could expedite that process a lot because there's people that offer education. There's social media is so much bigger. There's so many, the client pool is so much bigger, like et cetera, et cetera. But so I'm like in
Yeah,
a lot different position than a lot of people because I built things so my foundation is like, rock solid. You know what I mean? So, but
absolutely. Well, how long have you been doing this for?
so this
Like,
is like
just to,
13,
just
yeah,
to
like
let the people know.
13-ish years. My whole adult
That's
life,
incredible.
I was scared and broke and just went for it type of thing. You know what I mean? So uh, there's
Hey,
yeah,
right here, man.
there's something that I dealt with a lot, and you kind of alluded to this too, is man, I can't even tell you how many times I watched someone in my space grow rapidly by doing something that personally I considered, I'm not going to say unethical, but I'm going to say not genuine. And I'm going to say that it was like, you know, maybe it was clickbaity, maybe it was like whatever it was, sensationalistic, you know what I mean? Like not organic. And I'm like, man, should I be doing that? You know, because I saw what was happening to them, but what I found was 95% of those people are gone. 95% of those people aren't in the space anymore,
Yeah,
or 95% of those people have declined or whatever because they didn't build their foundation of what? Helping people and providing real, true value and staying true to themselves. So one of my absolute favorite things, and I never knew, it makes sense to me now, but I never knew this would happen, is I get referrals from people that have never paid me a dollar, right? Like like I answered some questions for them on Instagram, or they like watched my content for 2 years or something, and dude, I have people that watch my content and have referred me like 20 clients. I've never worked with
that's
them. Like
incredible.
I know of them, right? They comment on my stuff and they're like, "Hey, I love your content, like appreciate it, whatever." And they refer me clients, or I have a client that had to stop working with me for whatever reason. It could be a number of reasons, right? They refer me clients, you know. So like people underestimate the value in human connection and treating people right. And listen, like you're not going to agree with everyone. You're not going to get along with everyone. You're not going to click with everyone. It's just how it goes. Like I'm a pretty personable guy and like I'm pretty adaptable, a lot of psychology background and stuff. But dude, there's clients that I just don't click with. Like it happens. But I'm still going to treat them
Absolutely.
the best way that I can. I'm still going to always like, I'm never going to close that door in a way that's abrasive or try not to, right? Or that's unethical or whatever, because you just never know. You just never know, like, who are they talking to?
Yeah.
Like, who are they telling to work with you? Like, whatever it might be. So that kind of goes back to like providing value, and it all continues to come full circle because ultimately, and you realize this because we were talking about like somebody, one of my buddies, right, that was in the performance space, like auto performance space, and I was like, hey,
Oh
this
yeah.
guy might
Yep.
be interested in your content, and then he's like, yeah, I also have real estate. Like, would you be able to do this? And so the thing is like, you just
Absolutely.
don't know. You should just always treat people with respect, and you just don't know where things will lead. And if you look at any business, if you look at like any service business, we'll call it service business, the good ones are their clientele is largely referral based, right? Yeah, it's largely
Absolutely.
referral
Oh
based. Like,
yeah.
and if it's not, then you're probably doing something wrong. You know, it should be
Hmm.
largely referral based, right? So, those are some important takeaways. But we will. I'm coming up on time here soon, but I just want your. I'm going to
You're
give
okay.
you three questions. They're going to be completely random. All right, just for fun. This is a fun
Okay.
one.
No, hey,
Just so people can
I
get to
like
know
this.
you. Then I want to give everyone your contact info and stuff as well. So number one,
Okay.
what is favorite pastime outside of media creation? Because I know now you have developed into a full blown workaholic because we've had this discussion. Because I can relate. But what is your favorite pastime or hobby?
Oh man, I mean, one, I would say I love getting in the gym because
You got a
I'm
good
gonna
front
say
double
two things.
bicep.
Okay,
I
two.
saw it.
One of them in the gym. Yeah, exactly. Learning from my man over here. But I really think, being able to get in the gym has just helped me so much mentally and physically. I mean, it's what gets my day started and makes me feel like, hey, I won something for myself. And if I'm not doing that, honestly, family, spending time with my family, family or friends, I'm just grateful. I look at, just everything, my family's helped me through, and just even like my friends, or clients, whatever it may be. And I just love being able to spend time with them just because at the end of the day, like, they've been such a support system within me chasing this dream. And I would have to say I just give all grace and thanks to them because, they allow me to just do this and just always constantly supporting me. So I would say gratitude, being able to just show gratitude and getting in the gym. So how about yourself? And
Perfect.
I'm gonna throw that back
So
at you.
I don't have one, but the people that know me close, like one thing about me is that obviously I don't have much spare time. But the one thing that I always try to do is like things that I'm interested in, I try to prioritize like following them. So there's a couple like weird random sports or things that I enjoy that I try to keep up with. So I really like professional arm wrestling. I follow that. I really like wrestling,
Okay.
right? I'm like
Okay.
wrestling. So both like NCAA wrestling,
Yep.
I go to Ohio State when I can, stuff like that. International, so like Olympic and stuff. And motocross, of course, like I try to follow that when I can. And none of those things are related to fitness. Well, I mean, they have a fitness component, obviously, but the funny thing is, like, I don't really follow
Yeah.
bodybuilding, right? Like, I get so much of it. I mean, I know what's going on just by default of my job, but it's not like
Absolutely.
something that I'm like actively like going on all the bodybuilding news outlets and following the gossip and stuff. Like, I don't do that. You know what I mean? So and I think that's something that people might
Absolutely.
maybe find surprising. And honestly, it's probably just because like I'm so bombarded with it, like I just get fucking sick of it. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, people watching this man is literally the in a dirt bike just junkie. Dude's got freaking a million trophies all in one locker room. Insane. So I've seen him ride before too, and he's the real
Yeah.
deal. He is the real deal. His bodybuilding didn't work, but I think he could be in the X Games. I believe
Funny.
it. So,
All right, let's do second one.
I like it.
What is your favorite memory, moment, or thing with us working together? Like one thing that you maybe learned, or like moment, or something where you're like, man, that was really cool, or it's something that stuck with you.
Interesting. That's a good one. So listen, does it
Yeah,
have
whatever.
to be in the body?
Anything,
Like,
man. It could be like an could be like a
I mean,
conversation
okay,
that we had even.
try to think. Honestly, I want to say two. One of them was when we went to your house and we shot some of your guns with Derek.
That
Seeing
was
Derek
fun.
shoot his first gun, that was pretty fun.
Yep.
That was an awesome time actually. That was a great time. And then even this past weekend, when we were not this past weekend, 2 weeks ago, when we were in Chicago, I felt like when there was a time when we were down in the lobby and we were just talking about. I felt like I was telling you exactly everything that I'm experiencing right now with trying to get my business off the ground and being 2 years in and hearing you talk about how you're like, yes, I've been there before. This is like my first year of business. I made like $20,000. And going forward, it started growing. And so I think just being able to, like, in that moment, I was like, wow, like, we have so much in common, and like everything I'm feeling right now, you have felt. And so it was just a big like reassurance and understanding, like, hey, you know what, like this is a normal thing, just the fact that keep pursuing it, keep working hard, and keep following that dream, and good things are going to happen and things are going to fall in process. So I would have to say that. How about you?
Honestly, those conversations have been my favorite part of our interactions. Like, obviously, the content, dude, I'm super thrilled with, of course, and I love that you were able to come to the show and experience that, and and fly with us, etc. Even though we got stuck at the airport and all that bullshit, but I think that one thing that I value a ton is character in a person. That's one of the most important things to me, and I think that if you put two people in front of me with a similar skill set, like I'm going to be able to easily gravitate towards the person with, upstanding character. So I love our conversations, and that I see a lot of that early me, going on. And I think that, you're going to be good going to the top. So definitely
I appreciate
yes,
that, man. Hey, we're going to talk
yes,
together.
we're going. So let's do one more. We'll just do a wrap. We'll do a fun one.
Absolutely.
Favorite food?
Oh, damn.
Or
All
okay,
right.
or maybe okay.
Jared, no, I'll tell you what.
All right.
Jerica might like this one. Because I was like, when we were at Chicago, I was like, I'm a big fan of seafood. I'd have to say crab is one of my all-time favorites. Crab is 100% number one. If anything, second, good old Wagyu. I had Wagyu steak one time. I know it's very expensive, but that's only I had it one time.
Yep.
Amazing. Amazing. Like probably the best steak I've ever had in my life. So I would say it's got to be crab, then steak.
Yep.
And that's
Love
me.
that.
So, but how about yourself? I would say, like, this man rice
well,
cakes
yeah,
like
you caught me on
other.
you caught me in some
know.
carb loading.
Yeah.
I'm a big, so the funny thing about me is like people, like the ongoing jokes always, like I'm in my fucking sweats and PJs and my ratty clothes and shit, and but I'm a sucker for some bougie ass steak, dude. Like, take me to the steakhouse. Like I'll pass on everything else, but I'm gonna buy the $150 A5 Wagyu, and I'm going to absolutely love it. I developed a love for that because I learned how to start like pan searing and basting, and doing that whole thing. And I was making them, I was making stuff for myself. And yeah, dude, that's why when we went to the steakhouse and stuff, I'm like, man, it's really good, but I think I can make it. I mean, I can make it better, you know? And
Yep.
yeah,
Hey, I'm
well,
still
I
looking
owe you
forward to
one,
that.
dude. So I'm going to get you, but I'm going to make sure you get the good stuff, the real stuff for sure. So, we'll make that happen. But
Okay.
yeah, definitely. I'm more of like a rich, savory guy than a sweet, a sweet guy at the end of the day. So definitely. But cool, brother. I
Mm,
really appreciate you coming
absolutely.
on. That was super great conversation. I will repost this so people can watch it. I want people to be able to find you. So plug in,
Absolutely.
or just whatever's easiest to reach you at, whether that's like a social media outlet or something else.
Yeah. Do I should I type it in the bottom, like add it
No,
as
just
a
you can
comment,
just say it because
or?
it'll all be replayed.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Willie Legit, WILLIELEGIT, and then also on TikTok at WILLIELEGIT as well. I'm not on. I mean, I am on Facebook. I'm not too active on there. Trying to get better with that. But if not, I would say like those are my two main sources of being able to just get in contact with me. And from that, yeah, you're gonna see all my stuff like mainly on Instagram and TikTok. I'm also on LinkedIn too, Wilson Mishik. My last name is spelled M-I-S as in Sam, I-U-K. But yeah, you can find me there. I'd say any of those places, and be glad to answer any questions, or if you just want to follow any of my content, it'd
Yep.
be much
I
appreciated. So,
Guys, if
but yeah,
you like any of the stuff that Wilson's done for me that I posted or interested in services, I implore you to contact him. You will not be disappointed. So, keep that in mind. And you guys know I don't bullshit. So,
awesome.
so thanks for coming on, dude. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Something a lot different, out of the norm. I'm sure people get sick of me talking about like GI dysfunction and, progesterone and all that shit. So I was like, we'll do something different. But thanks again, buddy. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving rest of your night. So take it easy. I'll see you soon, by the way. I'll see you
Likewise, same to
relatively
you,
soon.
Austin. Absolutely,
Cool, brother.
absolutely, yes, sir.
All right.
Have a good one, Austin. Thank you.